Welcome to another live interview. I'm Casey from The Conscious Builder, and this is a regular occurrence that we are doing now every Tuesday. And we are lucky to have Heather Jeffery of Re4m here with us, a local business here in Ottawa. And Heather does some really interesting stuff. So she's an industrial designer specializing in sustainable product development. So she's going to explain a little bit more what that means, but she's making some really cool stuff with recycled materials that she's getting from all sorts of different locations around the city. And obviously things have changed with the COVID-19, and we're going to talk a little bit about that, a little bit about Heather and her background, and we're going to have a little bit of an exclusive tour here of the shop, which you can see behind her as part of this. So Heather, thank you so much for doing this and being live with us here.
That's great. Thanks so much for having me, Casey. Really looking forward to just kind of talking a little bit about, what's been going on at Re4m and touching base with you too. It's good times. So I guess if I'm going to go into what Re4m's all about is Re4m is a eco-friendly fabrication and design company. So we actually specialize in creating furnishings, fixtures, and displays for primarily business. Of course, it's shifted a little bit now because of COVID, but primarily businesses are our main market. And we work on anything from retail displays to reception lobbies to even props or structures or things for large-scale events. So what makes us eco-friendly is that we actually use reclaimed and rescued materials sourced from the community. So it can be, normally what we do is we try and get into the commercial industry and reduce the amount of waste that's headed to the landfill from that type of area. So for example, construction companies, their scraps and offcuts from jobs, old museum exhibits that are being torn down or they're retired, or even like old school plays, like the materials from, props and stuff like that. We will take them down, disassemble them, and figure out a way to reuse those materials that come from those projects. And that's pretty much the gist of what Re4m does.
So what are some, I remember we had you on the podcast last year, so if anybody wants to go back, we can share that later too. But you shared some really cool projects that you had done back then. Mm-hmm. I'm curious to know if the answer is the same. I believe I remember what your answer was. What's the coolest project or most interesting project you've ever done?
So it's kind of changed a little bit, I would say. There's two projects that come to mind, and one is more of a series of projects, and the other one is a project that was done for Hazeldean Mall. So I'm finding that it's especially interesting and exciting for myself when I get to work on like props. I love props. It's so fun. So for Hazeldean Mall, we actually worked on like a large facade, like a fake building facade that was made from all rescued fence board, cedar fence board from a local landscaping company. And second to that, had a really good time working with Saunders Farm last summer. We were able to do some like haunted house components, some outside arcade elements and stuff like that. So I find that those projects are really a good time.
What is it about the props and those types of things that interests you?
You can just be really extra out there. Like there's no limitations to pleasing a certain target market, I guess you could say. Like you just basically use as much creativity as you can, and it's a lot more, I find, creative and free flowing.
Yeah. What were you doing before you got into doing this type of work?
Yeah. You know what? I've kind of been making things ever since I can remember. But in terms of professional experience, I would say that I am and was a graphic designer. So basically for retail stores or sign shops and stuff like that. So that was I guess you could say, my first professional experience out of university.
Okay. So you're obviously still using those design skills, right, to design what you're now creating.
Oh yeah. Yeah, definitely.
So you mentioned that you're getting some of your props from like old museum exhibits and stuff like that. So what types of things are you getting? Like, do you have some sort of checklist of like, I wouldn't like, where would you start? Do you just kind of see something and be like, oh, that could work one day and you just kind of grab it? Or
Yes. I
so
mean,
you
I
just
do
start
have a
storing all this
yeah,
stuff. And
I do have a checklist of materials that are always handy at Re4m, which includes like timber, structural lumber, but also plywoods and acrylics. Those are always used at Re4m. Besides that, I always get distracted by the weird things. I'll go with a contractor who's tearing down a retail store, and he'll be like, oh yeah, come along for this tear down. And I'll go and I'll see like an old motorcycle gas tank. I'll be like, yes, give me that. And then I'm saying that because I have one and I've had it for about 4 years now. So
you're
that's
not
the
sure.
problem. Sometimes
Yeah.
I find cool things and they kind of stick around for a while.
Now I'm going to think about what you can do with an old motorcycle gas tank.
That would be helpful.
Because now you don't want to, it's one of those things where it's like, once you finally get rid of it, you're like, oh, I'm never going to use this. And like the following day, you're going to be like,
yeah, exactly. Mm-hmm.
So now you have a reason to hoard stuff. If for any of those hoarders out there, start a business that.
yeah, that's for sure.
Okay, so obviously you can't, your business has changed. Like, most of our lives have changed during these interesting times, right? So what has changed for you and what are you doing to kind of manage that as a business and also on the personal side as well?
Yeah, that's a good question. I'm sure it's different for every business out there. For Re4m in particular, as I said earlier, our target market is primarily businesses. And of course, with the quarantine and everything that's going on right now, a lot of our clients are shut down. So there's hardly, like, next to no projects coming in with our typical clients. So what we've done is we've kind of shifted it towards doing residential projects, which can be anything from like wall art or maybe small planter boxes. We're trying to really focus in the smaller items for shipping purposes because I'm not doing any deliveries right now. So it's either porch pickup or it's shipping. And that's why we're sticking to some of the smaller items.
Right. So do you have some of those smaller items like that you're working on right now that you can show us later when we do the tour? Or?
Well, I mean, I have my pieces laid out, kind of. I can kind of show you during the tour a little bit, but I'm going to be actually making some toys. I really want to encourage not only youth, but adults to, if they have the means, to step outside and just enjoy the outdoors. So I want to come up with some outdoor games for the lawn, and as well as some fun little interactive little toys for kids. So that's kind of what I'm going to be working on for the next little bit.
Do you have any ideas? Like, what kind of toys are you making? Is there something that's a little bit easier to make for maybe some of the parents out there that might be a little less creative? We all have our skills and our and our gifts, right? And obviously your gift is to create and come up with these extraordinary things, right?
Yeah, thanks. Yeah, actually one product I want to kind of do as a DIY project is potentially a series of birdhouses. Because that will also bring in nature into the backyard, and having birds and wildlife in your backyard is always a good thing too. So I'm hoping to do some DIY birdhouses, and then for maybe another DIY assembly type of project that I could make is I was thinking of doing like little tiny stands, like lemonade stands, but small scale for like teddy bears and stuff. So that's kind of what I was thinking, but we'll see what happens.
Yeah, that'd be a good idea. Like I had some leftover wood actually, and I hopped outside the other day with my son who's 6, and really all I had was 1x4 strapping. Like that's kind of what I had. So I'm like, hey, we marked out a few things and we chopped it out. And like in 5 minutes we had a birdhouse, but we have the tools and the
that's
skill to
true.
do it, right? So it was easy for him and I, and then he can decorate it and stuff. But at the same time, you know, what you're saying is maybe, you know, you cut some parts and the porch pickup could be, here's the parts for your, and the instructions for your birdhouse.
Yeah.
But so if you do a DIY thing and you share it, maybe we can get that shared on the Facebook page and link it to this video and stuff later. So
cool.
For anybody who's interested, obviously follow Heather on Re4m or us, the Conscious Builder. We'll make sure to send it over to you. So one of the things that we were supposed to do, we had talked about this actually right before kind of everything went, on lockdown. And actually when I went away right before all this went on lockdown, we were talking about doing an Earth Day event, because you were supposed to be doing an Earth Day event at Mooney's Bay.
Yes.
Here in Ottawa. So how did that change?
Yeah. So, this would have been the 3rd annual Earth Day event that Re4m would be hosting. And yes, it's at Mooney's Bay every year. And this year it was kind of like a little bit of a bummer, because we had some sponsors lined up and it was going to be more of a vendor event with eco-friendly businesses selling really cool goods. But yes, unfortunately we had to shift that for a little bit. I was pretty bummed that I didn't know how to like shift it. But recently what we've done is like turned it online. So you can find the event now, pardon me, and it's on Facebook. It's called Earth Day at Home. I think it's called Ottawa until April 30th, something like that. And what we're doing is there are some local businesses donating and contributing really neat prizes towards a grand prize draw that's going to be on May 1st. And basically it includes like really neat things like vermicomposting soil, wall planters. There's going to be a cool like upcycled rain cape and cleaning products. And there's going to be like a drain spout diverter, splash guard, I think that's what they're called. There's a lot of really interesting prizes involved, and basically it's super simple. Just people would go on the Facebook event and attend it, and then just comment or participate in the posts that are going on in that group. So it could be something like, what have you upcycled lately? And then it's in the post and you just comment whatever you want to comment, and then everything gets put into a spinning wheel draw that will happen later on. So that's kind of how we've shifted it.
As long as people comment, then they get entered into the draw for all these prizes that you're describing?
Yes, and there's also challenges as well. There's a coloring contest, there's garbage cleanup, but a safe garbage cleanup in like your direct neighborhood. And then there's like a paper plane flight contest. Yeah, there's just a bunch of random activities that are posted there.
So I did find, for people listening, if you want to check it out, I had a couple links open here. So Re4m.ca is Re4m, is their website. But if you go /earth-day, that's where you have the checklist. And yes. I noticed that you have like the coloring contest, the PDF for that, and the paper airplane thing, the template for that. And then if you want to go and enter for any of these, you can go to Facebook, and that's Earth Day at Home until April 30th, Ottawa. Go there, join us there. I'm curious, now that you mentioned the upcycle, what have you upcycled recently, Heather?
Well, I don't know. I feel like I'm upcycling all the time. Like just today, I turned an old element from a museum exhibit into my new joiner stand. So it's always random. That's
fun. I'm actually, I don't know if this gets, so behind me, I actually have a table made out of those big wire wheels. that you
Oh,
made?
awesome. Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
so I have one of those. And I don't know if this counts because we still use it, but my laptop right now is sitting on like this 100+ year old silverware hutch from my wife's from my wife's family. So it actually still has silverware in it, but it like holds my laptop up at a nice height, so it's perfect. So
Yeah. That sounds
I'm
like a
upcycling.
perfect use. Yeah.
And actually, my desk is like this 60 or 70-year-old old wooden table that I found at a garage sale. That I'm like, that just has cool story to it. I don't even know if they were selling it, but they was like on display at this garage sale. I'm like, how much do you want for the table? They're like, I don't know. Hold on.
That's awesome. I love it.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's
Got
great.
it. We finished it. It's perfect. Um, okay. So I like, this is kind of the silver lining is now, instead of just having an Earth Day event, you kind of ended up having a couple weeks, right? Because
Yeah.
it's going from April 16th till April 30th, right? So there is, there is some silver lines, like anything that happens. There's always, two sides to everything. But how do we keep, Earth Day going? Like, I feel like Earth Day should be every day. Mother Nature's getting a huge break right now with most of us staying home. I actually drove into the city for the first time last
Oh,
week in like 7 weeks, because I was away for 2 weeks and then came home and literally did not leave for like 5 weeks. I walked around the neighborhood and I took my, Westphalia out to, make sure it
yeah.
was running good and all that, but it was like just basically around the block.
Hmm.
But I was kind of surprised at how many cars were on the road. I think people are just kind of getting stir crazy to some extent.
Yeah.
uh, but all this to say, how do we keep this going? What are things that we can easily incorporate, or maybe some things that maybe you're doing now that you weren't doing before, that maybe you'll continue doing? Like for myself, I was doing Zoom meetings before for some of our projects with clients
Yeah.
on stage. But I feel like now, and I'm going to continue that, and people will be used to it now, where I don't have to say, hey, I'll come see you at your home, unless I really have to go see their home, or they don't have to come to the office. I can just say,
Yeah.
let's just connect like this the first time. When we need to, we'll get together, meet face to face. But that's one thing I'm going to continue for sure within the business and what I do.
Yeah, I think that's a great idea, and especially if it works for you, that's perfect. It definitely does cut down on carbon footprint and transportation and everything like that. That's great. I find what I've been doing lately is I used to drive to my workshop, which is embarrassing to say because I live fairly close to my workshop. But the reason I would drive is because I would always have to go get materials. And it was super frustrating to like come here and then be like, I gotta go out again. And I know I should plan better. I know that's a thing. But so lately I've been walking every day and it's great. It's super great because one of the roads that comes to my workshop is dead. Like it's a dead end. So there's hardly ever cars that go down there and there's not many people. So it's really nice. Yeah, it's great. So you know what, I want to continue that. I want to continue walking to the workshop as much as I can because it's just nice to get, that fresh air, and I have some thinking time, on my
Yeah.
way here. I'm just thinking about the things. So it's good.
Yeah. I've
Mm.
been looking at e-bikes actually, and some of them, because some of them look kind of fun. Actually, some of them are really ugly. I'm like, I don't really want to ride that thing, but
Yeah.
a
Yeah.
little bit of ways out of the city. But yeah, no, that's great. I'm hoping other people, have picked up some of these
Hmm.
newfound habits, right? And they continue. Things are not going to go back to normal, right? There's going to be a new normal. Everything
Hmm.
changes, right? So I'm curious to see what happens and how people have changed, and if they continue with a lot of this. I've never seen so many people walk around my neighborhood. It's great.
Yeah. Yeah. I agree with you for sure.
All right. I think Brian might be typing here. If there's any messages, once again, if anybody has any messages, those of you watching on Facebook, because we're not on Facebook, if you have any questions, post them. Brian will get them to me. So there was one Brian just shared. Somebody, Becky says, listening intently for items to buy for my preschooler.
Oh,
So anything on that? I don't know if that was a question or if she's looking for tips or anything
yeah.
like that. Like obviously one of the things that we did when our son was younger, like we were doing a lot of, wooden toys, right? And,
That's a great idea.
if there's anything simple that you can suggest for that people can easily make at home?
Yeah. I really enjoy, like, I did notice on my walks here to the workshop that people were doing a lot of sidewalk chalk things. And I really like that idea because there was some, I would assume, parents or, you know, guardians doing like there in one section, there is something called the Rainbow Factory. They completely took advantage of the road and drew like clouds, and like they said, jump, hop to the clouds, make a rainbow. Like it's really cool how creative parents can be that way. Even just simply setting up like an obstacle course or something like that with items you have laying around, I find is like, it's just so fun.
I actually know. So where we live, we're beside a path that kind of goes into another subdivision, and there's like, because there's a stream right behind our house here, and on either side of the bridge that goes over the stream, there's all these colorful rocks. So people have been painting rocks and putting like messages on them, like believe or faith or like all sorts of different things. I took a bunch of pictures, right? So they're posting them, and the rock piles are getting bigger and bigger. So obviously we saw it and we're like, oh, now we have to make a rock, and we have to add it. Right?
I
So
like that.
So things like that are
oh, sorry.
I was gonna say things like that are fun and easy to do with kids, right? So get messy.
Definitely.
You know, I've been digging up worms with my son, right? Because that's all he wants to do is go out and get dirty.
Yeah, that's awesome. Yeah.
So, and actually we've started, you know, on your point of walking, before I hopped on this call with you, we actually walked to the grocery store, you know, pulled the wagon, walked there. It's a good 20-minute walk or so, but you know, you walk there, you get some exercise, you load it up, you come back and support local. So
that's awesome.
I agree.
Yeah, I like that.
If it was the middle of winter, would I be doing that?
Yeah. I'm hoping more people do the walking thing. Yeah. Actually, I have noticed more people out walking too, so I'm sure they are doing that.
All right, so let's get into a little bit of the tour. Let's look around your shop. If anybody poses any other questions, or Brian, I'll keep an eye on that, but I might have more questions as I look around your shop and get some ideas. I wish I had a shop set up like yours, but most of our work is on the job site. So our shop / garage ends up just being a mess of stuff coming and going because things disappear. Well, disappear. They just end up at a job site or in somebody's truck or car sort of thing, right? But
oh yeah, I can't imagine like having it more of a remote workplace. I would not do well. I would lose everything. Like I would let people borrow my stuff and then not know who borrowed it. I would be the worst. But yeah, okay. So I will carry my laptop around. I think the best way to start would be to explore the upstairs because that's actually my new space, my new design space that I just finished yesterday. And it's great because I've had that extra time to really like make it my own, and I've kind of always wanted like my own design little area. So this way, follow me to upstairs. This is kind of like this is where I can keep an eye on my minions, tell them to work harder. Yeah, so basically that's kind of like the area that I'm going to be using as my design office. And then I had a fun time making my furthest room into my new sewing room / paper craft room.
You're all set up.
Yes.
I'm very jealous of your setup on all of your creative spaces.
Yeah, so this is our new, like, I always had a problem before when I was doing paper crafts or sewing or something, so I had to do it downstairs because I was renting the upstairs to a woman who made fascinators. And now that I have this space here, it's going to be so much better for sewing or paper crafts. So yeah, looking forward to it. But
yeah, I can imagine with what you do too, you're not just doing like woodwork or steelwork, or like you're doing everything in all of these different materials that you work with ultimately need a different setup, right? And you can't, I'm sure like the dust from the wood would have been messing up with all of the sewing and everything that you were just describing, right? So
yeah, exactly. So yeah, so that is the design studio. And then
your microphone is very sensitive, by the way. Even if you turn it slightly sideways, it somehow it works really well when it's right in front of you.
I'm trying to figure out where my this is a new laptop, and I'm trying to figure out where my microphone is, but I don't know where it is. Anyways.
It's very directional. It works.
Okay, so yeah, that's the front entrance. So as soon as you walk in, you can either go upstairs, and that's my little kitchenette where I make my soup.
Yeah.
Or you can come into the actual workshop space. So this is, I guess, when you first walk in, this is kind of what you're seeing.
Right, and then that window would be up on the left.
Yes, that's, wait, where did we go? Oh yeah.
Yeah, there it is.
There it is. So yeah, I'm gonna try and walk backwards maybe. So this is kind of what I have going on right now for projects that I want to work on. I went for another walk and I found a bunch of branches that I want to incorporate into kind of like a hanger. So it will be in a frame, and then I want to have the branches so that you can hang on, like, you know, jackets, hats, stuff like that. So that's another thing I'm going to be working on. So I have a lot of tools and equipment, which is great. And a lot of it's actually being sourced from like workshops that have shut down or Kijiji and stuff like that. Because I am still starting up. I would say I'm getting pretty into it now, but for a while I've had to find my own ways and methods of getting tools and equipment, so on a budget. So yeah, I still have it all kind of set up here and with a larger collection of tools. So have a little bit of a sanitation. And then I guess this is more like,
We lost. It's getting a little quiet there. Okay, now we get.
I really have to hold it in front of me.
Yeah.
So
it's
that is like a material storage. I get a lot of random materials and I put it there. So see the blue curved plastic? That's actually a component from a museum exhibit called Plastics in the Ocean. And that blue plastic is actually made from plastics in the ocean, which I think is really cool. So I've been trying to figure out a project to do with those. And then I have my wall set up here. Planer, drill press, and then just kind of like a work bench going on. Bathroom over there. Table saw. This is also my router table.
Nice.
And then, oh, actually, before I get too far, I have a secondary business with my neighbor who lives next, or not lives, but works next door with his business. And we started a laser cutting company called Junction Gore. And this is the door to Junction Gore.
What does he do, or what does that business do?
So Bill does like urban sheds and also does home decor with reclaimed woods and other types of materials too. So him and I definitely overlap in a way. And so that's why we thought we would work together to get a laser machine, because we really use this machine in both of our businesses quite frequently.
Nice.
So this is we're actually making Mother's Day puzzles right now, which is kind of fun, but.
Huh. That's very cool.
Yeah, so this is the laser room. We have some samples on the wall over there. And yes.
So we'll make sure to share. So for everyone watching right now, we'll make sure once we're done, we'll post all the links for all these cool things if you want to go check it out, or reach out to Heather and plan for Mother's Day for one, for sure. But
Yeah,
also
yeah.
plan some cool projects with your kids if you're at home with some young ones and looking for things to do.
I like it. I really like it. So these are cool. These are actually light boxes that were sourced from a retail store that was shutting down. And the full box lights up, and I think it would be so cool for like a business to put like cut vinyl on it for a menu or something like that, but I've had them kind of kicking around for a little bit. So I actually have an upstairs in the workshop space, which is kind of a little hidden. And that's where you can see.
And store more stuff.
Yeah. See, this is what I was talking about. There's the gas tank.
Right.
And there's a bowling pin, because why not, you know? So upstairs is now my CNC space. So I have a 30-inch by 30-inch CNC machine, which basically is a router here that it just cuts, and the computer controls where it's cutting. So I can do really intricate designs, which are super helpful for signage when I work on signage.
Yeah. So we did a reclaimed one sign for the Conscious Builder, which is at the studio. I should actually get it and put it up on that, where that picture is. For
Yeah,
these videos,
yeah.
but it's at our studio right now. I should just go get it. But yeah, so that's great. I think it was done through CNC, but it was bigger than 30 by 30. We wouldn't have been able to get you to do it, but keep that in mind for sure with the next sign we need to do.
Yeah, cool. We cut out letters a lot with the laser cutter, and the laser cutter, once the letters are cut out, you can just like glue them on whatever length of space, which is pretty neat.
Go ahead. I guess Brian's sending me some questions here, so I'm just going to take a look at them, but keep going.
Oh, okay. I was going to say this curved piece is actually from the Museum of Nature, from the Triceratops or one of the dinosaur exhibits. So when you could like pick up a telephone and click like, I want to listen to this dinosaur, that's what that's from. So that's one of those examples of when I get something weird and I'm like, well, I kind of need it. I don't know why, but I need it. I swear I'm not a hoarder. Well, maybe a little bit.
You have a reason. I might need it. I might be able to
well, now
create
it's my
something with it.
Safety barricade. So there you go.
So a couple of questions coming in. Andy's asking if you have any ideas for community rock garden. They paint them and leave them in a pile for others to see at the corner of his yard.
Any ideas on how to make it happen?
Yeah, maybe that's kind of what I'm understanding for a community rock garden. Maybe there's.
I would say just do it. Just start doing it, and then people catch on. Creativity is contagious. I feel like when you start doing something, people might be like, "Oh."
Yeah, that's what's happening with the rocks at the end of our path over here.
Yeah, that's awesome.
Becky's asking how many employees you have and if you're hiring. I'm assuming, well, right now, this is my prediction in terms of business, right? Because obviously, like as a business, our revenue has dropped significantly, like 90%, right? And my wife's, we had to close the door, then we're building it back up. Like that's just part of being in business. Something like this has happened. Nobody can predict this sort of stuff, right? But that being said, there is still opportunities. There are some businesses hiring. We actually did hire a couple part-time people to help us ramp up the online side, right? Because that's what we have time to work on right now. Yeah. So yes, revenue has dropped, but we still have potential to help with other things. But what's going to happen is all these businesses that do make it through it, when we are open and we can start operating again with the new normal, whatever that is, the businesses that made it through it and survive, so to speak, because some people might just choose to close the doors because they don't want to deal with this stuff. Some people just weren't set up and maybe they have to close the doors, but the businesses that do survive will be that much busier and will be hiring, I'm sure, because they won't be able to keep up with the demand that they will ultimately have once people start going out and are allowed to
Yeah.
to kind of start opening their doors again, right? So keep looking for those who are looking for work. This isn't going to last forever, that's for sure. And who knows, I don't know how long it's going to last, but there already is a lot of opportunity out there, right? It just depends on where you're looking and what you're looking for.
Oh yeah, for sure. I guess right now I have no employees. I have several subcontractors, but of course with low volume of projects, they're not working for me right now. But like you said, in the future, I have high hopes for bringing on some people to actually do material recovery. I'm finding that I really will need a hand in the future for picture almost like a job that's like the picker people, you know, those TV shows where people go and they're like, that looks cool. Yeah, I'll take it. I don't know. You know what I mean? So we'll see. But this is actually the last room, I guess you could say, which is the paint room. So I have a little bit of a spray booth set up here and a collection of paints that I typically get from actually the Restore, Habitat for Humanity. I do have to get some paint from other like commercial retailers when it comes to custom colors, but yeah, and I have a spray gun here. This is my ventilation system. It opens and
Oh, nice.
oh, I shouldn't show that. I need to change the filters. It's pretty, it's a giant fan and it just sucks everything.
Well, that's good, right? Because a lot of people set up these things and they don't have proper ventilation. So
yeah. Yeah. So that's it. That's the last room.
Well, you've definitely been working hard since the last time we really spoke about, business stuff. We didn't do a tour before. I think the last time you would have just been getting really set up with this stuff when we did the interview. So that's exciting. Good for you. Thank you for giving the tour.
Thank you.
I have another question. Somebody, Janelle was asking what a Mother's Day puzzle is. And from what I saw, I think it was like you're actually making wooden puzzles, right?
Yes. So through Junction Gore, we are doing a puzzle, I guess you could say, what am I trying to say? Like different categories of puzzles. So we actually did Easter puzzles, and a portion of the proceeds for Easter puzzles went to the food bank. And now we're launching first responder series. So the puzzles are going to be first responders, and you can paint them however you want to paint them. They're wooden puzzles. And a portion of the proceeds will go towards a charity that's devoted to giving funds and materials and supplies to our frontline health workers. So we also have incorporated the Mother's Day puzzles. So I'll just show them again. So they're actually like the mom, M-O-M, are puzzle pieces, and then there's a rainbow puzzle piece, and so yeah, they're just custom creations done by us.
That's so great. And the fact that you're putting them to, right, you're bringing the proceeds to help another good cause, right? So
yeah,
that's amazing. Those are the businesses and people that, that growth mindset. I love to hear that. And I surround myself with people with that mindset. And you are obviously one of those people. And I love to see how much you're growing and really taking advantage of this opportunity to work on these things that maybe you wouldn't have had time to work on, right? If this didn't happen, right? So
yeah, that's so true. Have you found that you're working on new projects you didn't think you would be?
Oh yeah, there's like what we're doing now is we're working on projects that we've been talking about, but we haven't had time to work on.
Yeah,
Right. So all this, that's why we're ramping up and we're doing now these live interviews every week. And
such a good
we're
idea.
getting more footage out there, and we're working on a site, a membership site to help other contractors now. Right. So, our business was based around doing custom homes, major renovations, but all around sustainability and so forth. But I do talk to a lot of people in terms of that are contractors too, that, a couple of guys that used to work with us that are off on their own now, and I'm kind of helping them. So we're going to just kind of create something to help other contractors, because we don't need to do every project. We just need to do a few.
Yeah,
And
I
we'll
like
help other
that.
people who want to do, who are committed to sustainability and ultimately helping their customers, right? And business is not easy.
Mhm.
And just because you're a good carpenter, a good electrician, or a good plumber, whatever it may be, whatever your trade is, running a business is a completely different skill, right? So that's what we want to help with. I've made a lot of mistakes. So that's what we're kind of focusing on, right? That growth
Cool.
and helping
Yeah,
other people.
that's a great resource. I know that when I started my business, I would have liked like there was lots of support for businesses who did like tech startups or financial startups or something like that. But what I was doing was weird. Like no one was doing it, and I didn't know who to ask. And I find that what you're offering sounds like something that will really help out a lot of local businesses. So that's really great to hear.
Yeah. So we'll keep you posted on that. And
Cool. Hmm.
yeah, so that's what we're working on. So I had some notes here. I think we kind of covered everything. I want to share some of your links again, but is there anything else, any message or anything else that you want to share with our viewers and ultimately listeners? Because we'll post this on our podcast later too.
Very cool. I would say that one of the missions that Re4m is striving towards, which is diverting waste from landfills, is really starting to jump. Like it's really starting to ramp up, and the amount and the volume of waste that we've diverted is really starting to be substantial. So I really like to announce that Re4m's actually diverted over 7,000 pounds of waste from Ottawa's landfills since I'd say about 2016. So yeah, and it's really looking up. A lot more businesses are starting to contact me about, can you take this material away? Can you repurpose this? And I'm starting to get into a lot more diversion projects, which is super fun. So if there is anyone out there doing a reno soon, or once you can safely do a
Yeah.
reno, if there's anyone doing that or tearing down a deck or anything like that, please be in touch, because some of those materials can be repurposed rather than put to the landfill, and love to work on something like that with you. So
That's so
yeah,
amazing. Well, first, congrats on
thank
diverting
you.
7,000 pounds. That's amazing.
Thank you.
And so for all the people watching this, whether it's live or after the fact, to connect with Heather, I'm assuming the website is the best place. Is
Yeah,
that
I'd say
the
so.
best
Yeah.
place? Okay, so head to re4m.ca and reach out to Heather there. And also check out the Facebook page, and I just make sure I get the name right. So search Earth Day at Home until April 30th. And you can just post a comment, share what you're doing. There's some instructions there, and you'll be entered to win some prizes that
Yeah.
Heather set up. So, and be sure to follow Heather, because she's always doing lots of really cool stuff. And hopefully we can get out there and do some more stuff within the community. And I look forward to next year's Earth Day event, where we can actually
Yes.
be in person.
Yeah.
We're taking this. Maybe we should be, actually, I might be in touch, because we're revamping the Westphalia right now. So I ripped out the inside of the van, but I want
Cool.
to do reclaimed wood products and put stuff into it. Right. So I might have to talk to you about that, but anyways,
Very cool.
thank you so much for being here, Heather. It's been amazing.
Yeah, thanks so much, Casey. It's been really fun. Hope to chat with you again soon.